are supporting me on Patreon. It means so much to me. Hey, welcome back, or welcome if you are new to my channel. Today we are going through another of the classic World of Warcraft lore series that I am doing here on my channel. I haven't done them for quite some time now, and this one will be a little bit longer, since we are going through the lore of the classes from Classic Azeroth today, which means no Death Knight, no monks, no demon hunter, and especially no evokers. I really hope you will enjoy this soft-spoken ASMR with me, and let's get into it. Classes of Classic Azeroth, and we will start off with the Druids. The keepers of nature, the Druids care for the natural world, its creatures, and the balance of existence. Many of them have watched over the world through the Emerald Dream, an ethereal realm that exists separate from Azeroth but intimately interwoven with it. This spirit world allows the regulation of the ebb and flow of nature and the evolutionary path of the world itself. It is the realm of one of the great dragon aspects, Ysera the Dreamer. To help guide the course of the natural world, the Druids entered into the Emerald Dream, agreeing to exist apart from their friends and loved ones in an extended state of hibernation. However, because of the threat posed by Archimonde and the Burning Legion, the Druids awoke and used their power to fight to protect the world. Currently, some of the Druids have re-entered the Emerald Dream, while others have stayed in Azeroth, working to repair the great damage that has been done to the natural order. The Druids exist apart from the political boundaries, empires and clans. What does it matter if one is horde or alliance in the great expanse of nature? The Night Elves and Tauren, united in their love of the land, have set aside their differences to work together, safeguarding Azeroth and helping to mend areas contaminated by pain and war. Therefore, the Druids offered hope of what all Azeroth could accomplish if all the races worked for the betterment of the world together. Druids are the keepers of nature and the world itself. Using their force of will and spirit, these protectors wander the Emerald Dream, focusing the power of the land. As a Druid, you have the power to become a defensive bear, an aggressive cat, an aquatic creature, a traveling feline, and use different spells to rejuvenate yourself and allies while dealing damage to enemies. Outside, while nature seems so close at hand, your control of roots are able to hold enemies in place, plaguing melee opponents and creating archers with frustration. Ultimately, druids are a jack of all trades, a master of none. They can fill almost any role well and round out groups splendidly. Introduction to playing the class. If you like the idea of being able to play a different set of classes with the same character, druids may be the perfect thing for you. These casters are able to heal, nuke and root, and engage in modest melee skirmishes, and they can use shape-shifting to become powerful beasts. Through these forms, druids can mimic warriors and rogues. This means that a druid can act as a group's backup tank, a melee DPS class, a ranged caster, or a spare healer. It's hard to go wrong with options like that, and the talent choices of a druid make a huge difference in terms of customization. Groups don't often grab a druid as their first choice because of uncertainty over the druid's specialization, but there are certainly ways to make a druid appealing in solo play, group action, or PvP. Or to focus on healing abilities, druids are able to respond extremely well to backup and even some primary healer duties. Spect for soloing. A druid can rip through targets as a DPS attacker and switch from cat form to their caster natural form to heal after battles. It's a low downtime, exciting way to work through the game's outside areas. Also, people look to druids for their stackable buffs. Other classes are able to raise specific attributes like intellect, stamina, and sometimes spirit for mages and priests. The druid's buffs adds a damage shield, armor, and a bonus to all attributes and resistance. At the end of the feral combat line, there is even an aura to buff critical rates for everyone nearby, while the druid is in one of their animal forms. Druids are clearly one of the best classes in the game for pure buffs. Especially in the very late raid content of the game, nobody is going to turn away extra resistance buffs. Talents. Druid talents take the class far and wide, enabling the character to become a deft caster, a master of their shifting forms, or a quality healer, either in a primary role or as a backup to the priest. The balance line offers many of the mystic improvements, raising the attack damage, efficiency, and critical potential of druid combat spells. Feral combat brings the druid cat and bear forms closer in line with rogues and warriors, respectively, making the class far more effective at DPS work and tanking. Finally, the restoration line aids healing spells with decreased threat, improved efficiency, and some interruption avoidance. Hunter. The lands of Azeroth are home to a great many beasts. Everything from wolves and cats to bears and large birds, to name but a few. These species care nothing for the war between Horde and Alliance. Their lives are filled with their own struggle to find food and live from day to day. By the same token, there has always been those individuals who exist outside the boundaries of civilized society. These free spirits have found a connection to nature and a way of living with it. These wilderness people have taken the chance to explore the various lands of Azeroth and formed bonds linking themselves with the beast of the world. A hunter is never without their weapon and their partner. The beast that they have formed a relationship with. The two of them work together and learn from each other. This allows the hunter to embrace the natural world and their pets to be free from some of the more pressing aspects of their existence, such as finding prey and having a safe place to rest. Some of the races have taken easily to this way of life. The Tauren and Night Elves have a great respect to the nature as a whole, and working as partners with it is an extension of that. The Troll, as well, have never moved far away from the rhythms of the natural world. For these people, becoming a hunter allows them the chance to bond with nature and the beast within it. For others, it appeals to their independent spirit. The dwarves and orcs are strong individuals, and some of them have grown tired of the political bickering of the cities and accepted the wilderness as their homes. These are hunters who seek to find their own ways in the world. Hunters are primarily a ranged class that combines traps for damage or crowd control, pets for tanking, and brutal missile abilities with a modest array of melee survivability. Able to tame and train beasts in the wild, this class offers a tremendous amount of solo ability, fast leveling, and excitement. Hunters have to invest in better bags, more food, and upkeep time while training any new pets. They also have the worst time in the initial levels before they get their first pet. Introduction to playing the class. Hunters have a certain mystique about them. The idea of fighting alongside a lifelong friend can be very appealing. The hunter's strength is delivered from combining the abilities of the hunter with those of a pet. While this gives hunters more choices than many classes, it takes practice and experimenting to find what works best in each situation. At range, the hunter is hard to beat, with high damage attacks, movement hindering abilities, and a pet to bite at the heels of attackers. Fighting a hunter at range is dangerous at best and foolhardy at worst. The movement hindering abilities allows the hunter to bring targets to a group in a more organized and less stressful fashion. For that reason, hunters are prized by good groups as being one of the best pullers in Azeroth. Starting with leather armor and progressing to mail at level 40, hunters aren't fragile. Combine this with a dual wield or two-handed weapon and a pet, and they are almost as dangerous in melee if underestimated. Hunters gain enough health to survive the attention of monsters for a short time. However, a long drawn-out fight is something to be avoided, as hunters can't take nearly the hits warriors, paladins or druids can. Here is where the bond between hunter and pets becomes so clear. Your companion is willing to do anything you ask. This includes keeping the attention of an enemy while you stay at long range and calmly fire away or sit on its hind end, waiting patiently for your commands. Keeping your pet safe is what hunters do in return for that boundless loyalty. Talents. As with many classes, a hunter's talent choices are either defined by their playstyle or serve to define their playstyle. The PvE supremacy of beast mastery, the PvP artillery of marksmanship, and the complex interdiction of the survival line all serve their masters well. Mage. The call of magic is a powerful one. Some have decided to dedicate their lives to it, studying it, practicing it and spreading it throughout the world. In the history of Azeroth, no other kingdom fully embraced the force of magic as strongly as that of Dalaran, where the entire culture was guided by mages. As a political entity, Dalaran was a source of great knowledge, not jaded by certain moral concerns, seeking only to understand the nature of magical power. The kingdom of Dalaran is being rebuilt, destroyed by the Burning Legion. Its remnants have fled throughout the lands of Azeroth, and the practitioners of magic have taken new apprentices and students. This has led to knowledge of magic being spread throughout all of Azeroth. In the Alliance lands, it is the humans and gnomes who look into the mystery of magic. The trolls of Durotar has always been accused, rightly so, for dark mysticism, while many of the Forsaken are from Dalaran itself and continue the pursuit of power. Mages are the range damage dealers in World of Warcraft. These masters of elemental fire and cold have studied the arcane arts for years, dedicating themselves to the destruction of their enemies. Though fragile in melee combat, mages are able to make themselves known on the field of battle. Strong enough on single target DPS, the mage offers even greater AoE options, the ability to slow and disrupt many targets, and the utility of in-battle crowd control as well. Mages can even create free food and water for health and mana. Introduction to playing the class. Mages love to bring damage to the table, whether to individual targets or entire groups, using a massive amount of mana. This is a class with burst damage galore, though mages are sometimes glass cannons, all damage, no defense. The truth is that mages can survive quite well as long as they temper their casting. Using spells at the right time can make all the difference between unsurvivable aggro and being in the clear. The first defense of a mage comes through range. Mage spells are cast at long range and are very deadly. Beyond the range itself, there is some use to the delay between a successful cast and the spell's impact. Most long-range mage spells are bolts, so there is time to start casting a second spell before your first bolt impacts against monsters. This is a great boon. Cast at maximum range for almost everything you do, and allows as much reaction time as possible when seeing if there are rats. Speaking of rats, mages have an ability that they love while soloing and while playing in groups for crowd control: polymorph. Turning enemies into sheep prevents them from doing any damage to you or your friends for a considerable duration. Unlike some forms of crowd control, polymorph can be cast whether you or the creature are in battle, and even while you are being attacked directly, though diminishing returns prevent mages from hitting the same target with polymorph too many times. It is quite possible to shift between polymorph targets, getting close to the full duration for each. Mages also get a powerful intellect buffs for themselves and allies, meaning that all casters are quickly your best friends. Mages can also summon free food and drink so that everyone in the group recovers quickly during downtime. Later on, mages summon mana gems for themselves for mana recovery during combat. Using area of effect magic, mages are able to do horrendous damage to large groups without delay. This gives a major place to mages in large-scale PvP and when fighting in group, tailored for besting monsters with AoE tactics. talent. Mage talents have changed a great deal over the retail period of World of Warcraft. Taking arcane as a primary or secondary tree was almost a given in the old days. Elemental builds and even tri-talent builds are becoming possible. Arcane line. Arcane talents are wonderful for raising mana efficiency, damage, and base functionality for the class. Fire line. Fire talents make the mage into even more powerful casters at range with a long-range bolts, a chance for stuns. Major fire talents are extremely functional. Frost line. Frost talents are there to frustrate and halt enemy advances, though lacking in the power to immediately bring down enemy troops in some way. This specialization improves the chill effects of almost all frost magic. Paladin. The paladins are the champion of light and the defenders of the alliance. Dedicated fighters, paladins safeguard the populace and acts as a symbol all can look up to. These men and women uphold honor and bravery, protect the people, honor the will of the nation, and bring light against the darkness. Lordaeron was once the center for paladins, a bright shining city that was a bastion of civilization. The defending paladins were a great force of order and respect for their nation. However, there were dark forces at work, and a great sickness took hold of the land, spreading the curse of the undead throughout the country. Lordaeron was destroyed and some of its paladins fell to corruption, leaving the rest of the knightly order to fight against the undead and their former comrades. The loyalty and brotherhood of the dwarves and humans make up the ranks of paladins. These people are stout defenders and work within the boundaries of their political organizations. Beyond all else, though, the paladins are dedicated to ideals of honor and bravery. Light guides them. Paladins are the highest durability melee fighters of the Eastern Kingdoms. With their heavy armor and robust physique, they have the ability to absorb an enemy's attacks, making them strong secondary tanks. It is in difficult situations that paladins truly shine, and their use of holy magic allows them some of a healer's powers, including the ability to heal themselves, others, and to resurrect the fallen. Because of their mixture of healing and tanking, a paladin makes a wonderfully self-sufficient solar, as well as an asset in any good group. Introduction to playing the class. Playing a paladin requires getting into a different mindset from many of the other classes. Instead of getting joy from each kill, there is great enjoyment from keeping yourself and other group members alive despite all the manners of problems. Settle in for a slow fight, especially while soloing, and laugh at the feeble monsters that try to take your character down. As with warriors, it's very useful to have several equipment pieces for varying occasions. Use a two-handed weapon while soloing and rely on the best damage abilities at your disposal. Bandage after fights. Don't use as much mana for healing and try to keep wading through enemies as much as possible. Then, when a group needs you in an instance, break out the one-hander and shield for survivability. These choices can even be made during a single fight. Use a two-hander when your paladin doesn't have aggro to do more damage. Then pull out the shield if too much starts coming your way. Though unable to easily or predictably gather aggro through direct attacks, Paladins can assist the main tank on a target and use their holy spells in conjunction with the Judgment of Righteousness to regain aggro if the creature gets onto a softer person. If the priest gets aggro, a paladin can immediately start healing the priest to both protect them and try to gather extra aggro. Because paladins are not major killers in PvP, some people are less interested in using them there, yet paladins can accomplish certain tasks extremely well. In Warzone Gulch, paladins have escort flag runners incredibly well. Blessing of Freedom, a healer in plate, and Cleanse are amazing together. In Rati Basin, paladins defense points forever. It takes so long to kill them, and they can always use Divine Shield or other such ability to save themselves. As long as the paladin fights a few feet away from the flag, it takes the enemies too long to capture the flag before you come out of your protected state and hit them. In raids, paladins use their greater blessings to provide the gathered classes with major benefits. Greater Blessing of Wisdom really helps to keep casters going in those longer fights. Blessing of Salvation is wonderful for keeping the aggro off of targets that are dealing high damage or doing the most healing. Paladins are regulated to supporting roles for these endgame encounters, but they are truly wonderful at filling that slot. Talents. Paladin talents fall mostly into a two-way split, support and damage. Holy and protection talents heavily supplement each other, and both serve to create a paladin that supports groups and raids with incredible power. The DPS output of such paladin is awful. However, their effectiveness is keeping members alive, throwing aggro where it belongs, and assisting with heals more than makes up for this. On the other side, Retribution is a tree for damage. With the correct gear, use of Retribution abilities and a specialization in the Retribution talent, a paladin can become a DPS class. This comes as a sacrificing group capabilities if taken very far. Decide which type of paladin you want to play. Don't let others make that choice for you. Priests. Holy and Shadow are forces, separate from those of the world itself. There are those individuals that seek to use them within the world, dedicating themselves to these unseen forces. For these people, the use of these powers require a great study and great reverence. The pursuit of holy magic is the love of life and healing, replenishing and protecting the caster and those for whom they care. Shadow is the opposite, a force of raw destructive power that damages the target and wounds the spirit. Both forces are powerful and require skill to use. Those dedicated to healing of the mind and soul often become priests, because of the appeal of holy magic to salve the wounded. However, because of the strength that Shadow promises, darker individuals move to the profession as well. Of the races of Azeroth, only humans, dwarves, night elves, forsaken and trolls have all the pieces of the puzzle to unlock its teachings. Priests are the ultimate healers in World of Warcraft. Without the healing spells of a priest, many warriors would not be able to survive grabbing 5 enemies, nor would a mage live through their finest AoE casting. It is those healing spells that make a priest extremely valuable to groups. A few parties turn down a skilled healer. However, a priest's usefulness is not limited to healing spells. These characters are also offensive casters, doing damage using both holy and shadow magic. Left to their own devices, priests are no fading flowers, resigned to depend on the good graces of others. Instead, they are fully capable of defending themselves, performing damage-dealing spells, and avoiding some of the worst aspects of an enemy's attacks. Introduction to playing the class. There are several classes with healing potential, but none of them out-heals a priest. This is a class with a wide range of different healing abilities, and priests have the most powerful and efficient healing spells of any character in the game. It is this healing ability that ensures that priests always have a valuable place in any group. There are always spots available for someone who is willing to keep the rest of the group dealing damage and killing enemies. However, priests are not always relegated to only healing duties. They are capable of doing damage against monsters on their own. The proper placement of an offensive spell can do as much to save a party member as a well-timed heal. In addition, this means that priests are perfectly capable of dispatching their own enemies, and they do not need to be constantly shepherded by escorts. Keep in mind, though, that being a priest is a matter of temperament. If you find that you enjoy casting large amounts of offensive spells and hate healing, then a mage may be more your cup of tea. Similarly, if you only want to heal occasionally and want to do more melee damage, paladins and shamans have more similar abilities to priests and far more survivability. What priests don't have is the heavy armor to withstand a determined assault. Faced with multiple opponents or high damage enemies, a priest's cloth armor is no barrier. The use of Power Word Shield, a temporary spell that absorbs damage and keeps a character from being interrupted, can only go so far. It's best for a priest to keep fights short, sweet, and at range as much as possible. If you enjoy saving other people and want to throw in a bit of offensive damage on your own, being a priest is a great choice. You can really have a wonderful time with some of the more social aspects of World of Warcraft, as well as be a competent soloer if you find that is what you want. Talents. Priests' talents are fiercely debated, and there are many builds for success. Damage, healing, survivability for groups, and additional buffs are hidden in there. Clearly, the Shadow line offers a great deal of hindrance and damage for PvP, and some great solo opportunities as well. Holy talents make a priest an even better healer and a more efficient healer. The effect on a small group is immense. Discipline allows priests to cast both healing and damaging spells for longer periods and have harder hitting results. In effect, all of these lines are viable, so the choices are difficult. Rogue. There have always been and always will be rogues. These individuals use stealth and cunning to accomplish what a broadsword and shield can't. While darker folk following this path are dangerous assassins, thieves and brigands, there are those who train for the betterment of their own people. Spies put themselves at great risk and are perhaps the greatest rogues as they hide in front of an enemy instead of behind. As times grew more dangerous, rogues have learned to defend themselves. They have learned fighting styles that allow someone with the thinnest armor and 2 small blades to stand up to someone in chain wielding and a hammer and shield. With the prominence of magic wielders on battlefields and their ability to destroy standard troops, rogues have been given an important duty. They must safeguard their friends by eliminating the enemy caster first. Of all the races of Azeroth, only one will not accept training as a rogue. The Tauren are not suited for the concept, either physically or mentally. They believe the deception dishonorable. The ends justify the means for other races. Rogues are a very interesting and complex melee class in World of Warcraft. These stealthers are able to stay out of sight with a bit of luck and planning, and their surprise attacks are able to bring down soft targets at an alarming rate, though challenged by a variety of enemies in heavy armor. Rogues grin and strike fear into the hearts of anyone who isn't hidden under a veil of steel. Rarely surpassed in PvP capabilities, rogues are also fast levelers and devourers of PvE content. It is only very late game raids that rogues face their greatest challenge, surviving mass aggro and AoEs in fights where dealing the most damage isn't always a good thing. Introduction to playing the class. Rogues require an aggressive mindset. This needs to be tempered with a certain degree of patience as well. Rogues don't charge straight into combat and take the hits. Indeed, the best way to succeed as a rogue is to prepare the perfect attack, then go nuts once everything comes together. First off, spec for really high damage. Almost all groups are going to expect DPS from your character. If you want to be even more than that for other players, spec in the subtle talent line and train yourself for scouting, crowd control, and general group support. Maximize critical, hit, and agility gear to reach those high damage numbers, and think about how you want to deal set damage. For sustained damage, rogues can use combat talents and abilities, large weapons, swords most commonly, and rely on more direct tactics. Instead of backstabbing and using stealth for ambush, these rogues go for more stuns and sinister strikes. That is very effective in PvE. To do great burst, look into the assassination talents, a wicked set of daggers, and use stealth to start battles with painful attacks. With a high damage weapon, assassination talents, and a good ambush, rogues start a fight with an enormous advantage. In either event, skilled rogues devour low health opponents in PvP and PvE for grinding and farming items. This should be kept in mind, and in the battlegrounds, know your place. Don't hop out and try to take down the biggest warrior of the enemy team unless you have backup. Instead, sap the brute and kill any healers or casters in the area. Take the quick, easy kill that can be done with burst damage or stuns. Anything tougher can wait until there are more people to assist you. And that is the biggest thing for most rogues to understand. You are not a one-man reckoning crew. Rogues are more than that, and less. They are scouts for the attack force, can time attacks wonderfully, provide detailed information, annoy enemies beyond belief, stuns and CC opponents, and so forth. But you don't take group on directly. That is what warriors are for. Bless their tanky little hearts. An interesting facet of rogue play is that these characters don't use mana. Instead, they have energy. This starts at 100, a full yellow bar, and restores itself quickly. Unlike warriors, it doesn't matter whether you are in combat, getting hit, etc. Energy comes back all the time. The next aspect of battle is that your standard moves add combo points to your targets. These points are saved up from 1 to 5 and are used to complete finishing moves, only usable on the target that the combo points are saved on. A finishing move removes all of the combo points from your target. Talents. Rogue talents lines are all about damage and setting yourself up to do more damage. The pivotal points between these lines is to figure out when you want to deal said damage. Assassination brings better poison possibilities and hits very hard coming out of stealth. Look care to have the best burst DPS early in a fight. Combat Mastery puts in damage into a steady stream, ignoring the short burst. The combat line focuses on dealing its best damage over longer fights. Better weapon abilities, improvement to dual wielding, and more efficient special attacks are here. Subtlety is indeed a modest line for raw damage, but it reveals its strength through improvements to stealth movements. Anti-detection reduces cost to several attacks, and better crowd control. This is not a solar line, rather, subtlety is for rogues who want to engage in large amount of scouting, PvP and infiltration. Subtlety also brings the most utility for 5 character groups and raids. Shaman. The shaman are the spiritual leaders of their clans and tribes, guiding the peoples of the horde to their destinies. Gifted with great insight, the shamans seek to provide the best lives for their people within Azeroth. This common structure has formed a network among several disparate races. The races of the horde have always had strong beliefs and a willingness to defend them. In addition, most have a clan or tribal political structure, with loyalty to their tribe being strongly valued. The shaman help to mend these tribal forces together so that all the various tribes and people can accomplish a unified goal that benefits all of them. It was the shaman of the orcs that led them into Kalimdor, and the shaman of the Tauren and Trolls who helped them relearn their shamanistic heritage. Of the horde, only the Forsaken are without shaman. This is a source of disquiet among the races, as the Tauren, Orcs and Trolls have a common set of goals, and the Forsaken may not share these. Shamans invoke the powers of air, earth, fire and water to increase their melee effectiveness, attack at range, aid themselves and teammates, hinder enemies and heal. This plethora of abilities makes them a very solid choice for the solo player, while still being a respectable choice for the more social. The array of spells is confusing at first, but given practice, the shaman can fulfill nearly any open spot in a group and can be quite a devastating opponent. Introduction to playing the class. These spiritual leaders have a bond with the world. It's different from that of the druid in that shaman call power from the 4 elements. Air, earth, fire and water answer the call of the shaman through spells and totems. Some of the shaman's greatest power rests in their totems, while only being able to use 1 totem of each elemental type at a time. The shaman has many options for each totem. Knowing which totem to use takes practice and can make the line of yourself and your group easier. As one of the few classes that can heal themselves and others, shaman are often called upon to group with the more martial and mystic classes and keep them alive. This is something that the shaman does well, but it's not all they do. Starting with leather armor and progressing to mail at level 40, shamans aren't fragile. They can carry shields as well, as this makes them quite hardy. With an enchant on their weapon, enemies aren't going to find a soft and squishy healer if they engage a shaman. Many of the spells shaman gain allow them to live through quite a lot. Surviving the attention of a monster or 2 for a short time is very easy, while lasting through a long fight is more trying. They work well as tanks in the lower levels, but should avoid the role as the enemies become more difficult. Shaman work best when helping others. They can heal melee classes and buff casters with totems. With their damage from melee or spells, they aid parties in defeating enemies. Knowing which task to take on when takes practice, but mastering it makes you a sought-after addition to any party. Talents. The shaman class can fulfill a variety of roles. The talents you choose determine which roles you can fill well and which you are mediocre at. The raw damage of the elemental tree, the melee capabilities of the enhancement tree, or the sustaining power of the restoration tree are all viable options. Warlock. For some mages, the lure of dark power and knowledge proved too great for mere study. They found a new wellspring of chaotic magic, allowing them to reach into the strength of the demons. Gifted with the ability to manipulate these demonic forces, the warlocks are powerful sorcerers, and the pacts that they form with the demons are a sign of their own devotion to the dark arts. Demons are never far from a warlock's call, and the warlock is a master at controlling them. These sinister creatures follow the warlock's orders, attacking enemies and protecting their master. A warlock servant fights for them, and often the warlock thinks nothing of sacrificing the demonic pet if the situation calls for it. A new summoning spell is all it takes to drag the demon back to the world of Azeroth. Because of their devotion to dark arts, warlocks are feared and distrusted by most of the races. Within the lands of the Alliance, warlocks are shunned and their places of teaching are outside major cities. Only humans and gnomes are curious enough to dabble with these forces. The orcs also have a great deal of suspicion toward warlocks. Most want nothing to do with demons ever again, and orc history is replete with pain and anguish caused by demonic involvement. Only the Forsaken fully accepts warlocks as a part of their civilization, giving them freedom and respect. However, despite the mistrust engendered by these practices, there will always be people who pursue dark and powerful knowledge. Warlocks are draped in shadow and intrigue, while others shun the power of demon summoning and control. A rare few understand that the power is merely a tool to be used as one sees fit. Without taking advantage of power, we are sure to be victims of it. These casters are different than mages, though damage can still be a focus for them. Warlocks use a mix of direct magical assault and demonic pets to accomplish various tasks. Synergistically, these forces allow warlocks to kill very efficiently over time. One great joy is that these summoners are able to choose from different types of pets as they level. Warlocks start with the mystic staples, bolts from range for direct damage. From there, however, the variety expands immensely, and even over the first few training sessions, the true beauty of the class begins to appear. Warlocks may sound challenging, or even a little daunting. They are, and it's worth your time and practice to learn about these clever casters. If you want power at range and thrive on complex tricks and techniques, don't listen to those mages who pretend to understand true power. Introduction to playing the class. Warlock are a class with a great deal of finesse. Certainly there are easier classes to try when you first enter the World of Warcraft, but these casters have so much potential for utility, damage and excitement that they are a must-try class somewhere along your journey. The simple philosophy of warlocks is one of attrition. The enemy can't kill you before your damage over time kills them. Another facet of this is that warlocks have a very thin line between their health and mana. Health is easily converted into mana through life tap, and to some extent mana can be converted into health using life drain. because warlocks also have health stones to act as free health in a pinch. This means there is almost always something in reserve for those tougher fights. Pet choices define a hunter because pets do so much damage and are essential tanking buddies. That isn't always the case for warlock pets. The warlock is easily more of a damage dealer, and not all of warlock's pets can take a hand at tanking. That said, the abilities these creatures bring to the class offer immense variety of play. Talents. Warlock talents are able to hone this class toward one of several ends. The affliction line makes warlocks even more effective with long-term satisfaction. Demonology allows warlocks to survive well beyond their normal means. This talent tree develops pet abilities and gives PvP and PvE warlocks immense survivability. Destruction goes toward the direct end of warlock attacks, greatly improving the output of a warlock's fire and bolt spells. And lastly, we have the warriors. There have always been warriors who both defend their families and attack their enemies. While some spend their time training in hallowed halls to become powerful mystics, not everyone has that chance. The people living out on the frontier, away from large cities and the training there, have nothing to defend themselves with but a sword. They spend their days becoming stronger and faster. More than just their lives depend on their abilities. Their family and friends live or die on their abilities. Not everyone takes up arms to help others. There will always be those who are excited by the adrenaline rush of heated combat, or simply enjoy watching life drain from an opponent's eyes. Whatever their reason for fighting, these men and women are the undisputed masters of melee combat. They train day and night, mastering several stances of combat to be able to defeat any opponent that stands in front of them. Any race that can forge weapons can train warriors. Humans, night elves, dwarves and gnomes train warriors and pit them against the mightiest of foes of the horde. Tauren, trolls, orcs and Forsaken sharpen their blades and prepare for the coming war. Warriors are the protectors in World of Warcraft. These brave souls fight for both the Horde and Alliance, and neither side would survive for long without their perseverance. Fighting primarily in melee, warriors use their heavy armor and damage mitigation to endure the attention of monsters. Their role in a group is to gather as much of that aggression as possible. By doing this, weaker classes are left free to use their healing, higher DPS, and other such abilities without fear of reprisal and death. Both in the field and in dungeons, warriors always have a place in a skilled group, when soloing or assisting any other warrior. These fighters reveal that underneath the armor there is a savage killer that is able to sacrifice mitigation for destructive power. Introduction to playing the class. Warriors are very easy to pick up, but it takes an immense amount of time to master them. Some people perceive the class as being forced into one role by their specializations, but no configuration. Truly pigeonholes as warrior with skill. Bring along a wide range of weapons, and watch how easy it is for a warrior to be a DPS class or a tank at any time. The key to master stands switching the weapon selection. Within the same fight, a warrior can start as a DPS class, bringing down some light targets, then switch to tank mode to deal with adds or a specifically powerful creature. One interesting thing about warriors is that they lack mana. Instead, they gain power to use their abilities from rage. This builds when a warrior takes or deals damage. The more damage you deal or take at a given time, the more rage you will get. This makes it essential to keep your weapons upgraded as often as possible. Rage deteriorates between fights when a warrior is out of battle, so it helps greatly to have as little downtime as possible. Talents. Warrior talents really help to push your character toward either the defensive or aggressive ends of the spectrum. It's hard to walk the middle ground with a warrior, and weapon choice plays into this quite distinctly. Arms is seen as a major PvP line or a secondary selection for other warriors, and it focuses on flexibility and burst damage. Fury is all about higher damage over time and a number of survival tools that might surprise you. The protection line encourages one-handed weapons, a shield and mitigation throughout survival and stuns. And that was all the basic classes from World of Warcraft Classic. I really felt my voice starting to give up halfway throughout this video, but I hope you enjoy it nonetheless. Thank you so much for watching my channel and supporting me. Feel free to check out my Patreon, where I upload weekly exclusive ASMR videos.